Hi, welcome you all to Science with Charmy the teacher. Today I am going to do a lesson for grade 6 kids. That is their first lesson, The Wonders in Living World. In this lesson, first you want to learn what is environment. Environment. Environment means the surroundings that we can see when we step out in our home or when we are inside the home, the things that we can see in the surrounding, including us also. So the main definition for environment is the surroundings, including us. Our things that we can see in our surrounding: bed, table, television, animals, dogs, trees, plants, shrubs, grasses. The man, buildings, vehicles, they all belongs to environment. These are the things that we can see in our surrounding. Then when we discussed about the things that in the surrounding, we can classify them into two groups as living organisms and non-living organisms. Now when we take a table, we know that it belongs to a non-living substance because it does not show any growth. There is no any growth. Then what is this growth? What do you mean by the word growth? Growth means the increase in their size, height, weight, and in their volume. If they can show any type of increasing in their height or in their weight or in their mass, we tell those substances have a growth. So according to showing this growth and not showing the growth, these things that we can see in the surrounding can be mainly divided into two groups as living things and non-living things. As living things, the other one is the non-living things. In the case of living things, there is a very good growth in living things. When we talk about a tree, we can see when we plant a small seed, it first turns to a seedling and then to a small plant and then it maybe turns to a big tree. So with the time, they are showing an increase in their height as well as in their diameter of their stem, likewise. When we talk about a human, just a small baby, first it comes as a small baby. 1 month or 2 months baby is very small. Then time by time, it starts to kneeing and then walking and running. Then it becomes to a very good adult. So there is a big increase in their height, weight as well as in the size of the body. Then when we take a dog, a small puppy will turn to a dog. Small cat will turn to kitten. Small kitten will turn to a cat. So these animals and plants, you can see that there is a growth. So if any material or an organism is showing a growth, we call them as living organisms. We call them as living organisms. This one should be in the environment. So if anyone is not showing a growth, now when we take our television, the television is not increasing in the length or not increasing in the width, time by time. The day we purchase the same size, now today also it is in the same size. When we talk about the cupboard or almirah in your home, that is not increasing in its size. Bed, door, these small photographs, they are not increased either in their height, either in their weight or in their size or shape or volume. Then if they are not showing a growth, we can label them as non-living things. So you can classify the organisms or the things in the environment as living things and non-living things. So environment, we know that they are the surroundings including us. Inside this surrounding, we can classify them into two groups as living and non-living. So non-living means many things. Now when we talk about this pen, this board, then houses, buildings, vehicles, bed, cupboard, doors, these things belongs to non-living organisms. Living organisms means that there are mainly 3 types of living organisms. Living organisms, there are only 3 types mainly. They are the animals, that means cats, dogs, horses, elephants, then small cockroaches, millipedes, butterflies, birds, fish, human. We all belongs to animals group. The other type is the plants. Plants means small shrubs, small plants, then very big trees, some of the creepers, some flowering, the plants that give flowers, They all belongs to this plants group. What is this third group? That is microorganisms. Microorganisms. Microorganisms is a new word for you. Microorganisms is a new word for you. Who are these microorganisms? These are the organisms that can't be seen by our naked eye. Through this naked eye, we can't see microorganisms. So the organisms who can't be observed by our normal eye, we label them as microorganism. Micro, by the word it comes, very small, too small. To observe microorganisms, you have to use a microscope. You have to use a microscope. So these are the main three types of living organisms in this world. So in this chapter, you have to learn about what are the characteristics shown by these living organisms. What are the main characteristics shown by these living organisms? We will talk about that one now. So when we talk about the characters mainly shown by the living organisms, the first character is the growth. First one is growth. I have already explained this word. Growth means increase in their size, shape, height, mass or volume. So only the living organisms can show a growth. A table, a chair, a vehicle. Then when you talk about a pen, this one can't show any growth, although the time passes. But in case of ours, in case of plants, in the case of microorganisms, they show a very good growth. So the first character that we can see in living organisms is the growth. Then the second character. Second one is nutrition. What do you mean by nutrition? Nutrition means taking of foods. We are taking nutrition through our foods. But in the case of animals, we can't produce foods. There is only one organism who can produce food, that is the plants. And there are very few microorganisms also who can produce their own foods. So plants use this sunlight energy, and on their leaves by using the gas carbon dioxide, and in the presence of water, they do a process which is known as photosynthesis. That is called as photosynthesis. So photosynthesis means producing of foods in the presence of sunlight on the leaves by using carbon dioxide and water. We call that process as photosynthesis. So this is the only process that we can use to produce our normal foods. So the plants and some only microorganisms can produce foods. So if they can produce their own foods, we name them as autotrophs. We name them as autotrophs. That means they can produce their own foods, especially the plants. But in the case of us, we directly or indirectly depend on plants. We directly eat plants as vegetables, fruits, herbs. We are eating the plant parts directly. And when we talk about the animals, when we will think that we are eating a chicken. No. Then chicken means the hen or the cock. It also directly or indirectly depending on the leaves of the plant. It may eat some worms. Then worm is eating the leaves. Then when we talk about any other organism, when we talk about a lion is eating a deer. Then deer eats the plants. So the animals directly or indirectly depend on these autotrophs. Because of that, we are given a separate name, that is as heterotrophs. Heterotrophs. We are given a separate name as heterotrophs. So you should have remember these names. These are new words for you, so you must remember these things. Then through this autotrophic or heterotrophic method, we get nutrients from the plant materials. So this need of a nutrition is only for living organisms, because these tables, this pen, our cupboards, they don't need any foods. So when we get sick, if we can't eat the foods, that means then we can't do any work. We feel very tired. It's very difficult for us to at least walk few steps because we are lacking from nutrition. When there is a lack of nutrition, the growth also does not happen. As well as we can do our normal activities. We can't do our normal activities. So the third character of living organism is the movement. There is a difference between movement and locomotion. Movement means this just moving something. We are changing our position. Now this one is I am moving my hand. That means we are just changing the position. And there is another word that is locomotion. Locomotion means we are moving from one place to another place. If you are moving from one place to another place, that one we called as locomotion. So each and every living organism can't do locomotion, especially plants. They can't move from one place to another place. But when we talk about animals, dogs, these birds can go from one place to another place by using their wings. Then fish can move from one place to another place by their fins. When we talk about the creepers, that means the snakes and reptilians. Most of the reptilians, they move by crawling by their skin. And when we talk about animals, they have limbs, 4 limbs, no? They have 4 limbs. They can move from that one. So the moving from one place to another place, we have given a definite name for that one, that is locomotion. But especially the plants. Plants can't show a locomotion. They are only showing a movement. What are the instances that we can see that plant is showing a movement? If we keep a plant inside our room near a window, after some days you can see that plant is growing towards the sunlight. That is some sort of a movement. When the wind is blowing, the branches of the plant and the leaves are moving here and there. And especially the mimosa plant, Nidhikumba plant, when we touch that one, it do the sleeping. So these are the different examples for the movements that are shown by the plants. So plants, animals and microorganisms, they all show movements. Okay. So there are another 2 special characteristics that are shown by the living organisms. So I hope we will discuss that part through our next video. So thank you very much for watching this video.